Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday and welcome to part 2 of my Trauma Transformed video. Before we get started, my name is Eureka Newcomb. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel so that you can get notifications whenever I post new videos here. So let's get right into it. For those of you who watched the first video, one of the things that I said in that video, that by the time I was done, there were going to be more questions than answers. So that's what this number 2 video is going to be about, to kind of delve into some of those questions. Because this channel is new, I don't have many questions or any questions on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer questions that I've gotten from people over the years about the trauma that I've experienced. And so we're going to start with the most popular one, which is how did I get through it? How did I get through those things? How are you still standing? How are you still smiling? And there's really a couple of answers to that question. And let's start with the first answer. And it's simply my faith. I am a believer, and there are days when I literally could not carry myself. And I really, that's the only thing that I had to carry me through was my faith. There were days when I would I felt like I can't do this on my own. And I needed something to carry me. And for me, that was my God. I realized that everybody is not a believer, but that's what works for me. My faith. I walk by faith and not by sight. And that's just it. Some days I couldn't. That's all I had. So yeah, that's the first answer to that question. The next answer to that question is my children. Y'all, there were days, and I just realized this is the first time I'm saying this out loud on this kind of a platform. I think there's only maybe 1 or 2 people that I said this to, but there were days when I wanted to take myself out of here. Plain and simple. I just felt like I could not do it. I questioned God. I questioned, Lord, why me? Why do all of these awful things keep happening to me? I am walking around this earth just trying to make it, just trying to keep my head above water. I have no mom. I have no dad. I have no grandparents. I have not this. I have not that. What do I do? The one person in the world who promised to love me and take care of me has literally just obliterated my life. Like, why me? And when those days hit, and I was the easiest answer to that was just take yourself out of here. Just do it. Just take yourself out of here. And the thing that would always pop into my head was my children. And I tell them this now. I literally tell them, like, y'all don't even understand. Y'all literally saved my life. And I mean that with every fiber of my being. I just could not fathom leaving them in this world alone. I felt like that would be selfish. And I felt like they only got one good parent left. And if something happens to me, they're going to be stuck here with their other side of the family. And I was like, nah, I was not okay with that. So that's the other answer to that question, is literally my children. So now I have my faith and my children carrying me. The other part of that is therapy. Listen, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were telling me how they didn't believe in therapy. They don't want nobody else telling them how to, deal with their problems. If you're in a relationship and you need relationship therapy, you need to work with that person. You don't need to bring in a third party. Skirt. Listen, whether it's whatever kind of therapy it is, whether it's something you're working on within yourself, or if it's a relationship you're working on, let me tell you why therapy works with me in conjunction with my faith, because we do have those people out there that will just say, pray about it, and that's it. And if that's what works for you, by all means. But for me, a lot of times you have outside influences that always know what's best for you. Don't get me started on that. That's a whole nother conversation. whether it's family or friends or whatever it is. There's all these outside forces, not to mention your own thoughts in your head. And for me, therapy just always gave me that professional, non biased, um, third party opinion slash other perspective and point of view, something that I may not always think about. Therapy gives me tools to deal with the stuff that I'm dealing with. Because let me tell you something. Come closer. I need everybody to hear this. Do not think, see, this social media thing and this internet thing have people thinking that everybody's life is perfect and people don't go through things. And once you realize that everybody goes through things, everybody's life is not perfect, none of us are exempt from things happening, then you realize that your situation is not special or unique to you, because everybody, we all go through stuff. So don't have these people out here thinking that their life is all perfect, and you're looking through, this here internet, and that is not reality. People show you, including myself, what they want you to see. They paint a picture of their life, and that is what you see. But on the back sides of that, we all have this stuff going on in the background, and those are the times when you need tools to learn to deal with life. And some days it's literally just learning to put one foot in front of the other. And so those are some of the tools that I use to get through some of my trauma. The other thing that I use to get through my trauma is literally the teachings of my mother, my raising, my upbringing, how I was raised, the things that I was taught, the way that I move, the way that I treat people, the way that I want people to treat me. And when they don't treat me, how to move in those situations. And so, yeah, that's really 1, 2, 3, 4 of how I got through my situation. There's a lot of moving pieces. Let me tell you something, though. It is not easy. The first piece of advice that I could give anybody that's going through trauma is do the work. Get the help and do the work so that you can live a fulfilled life on the other side of that. That trauma that happens to you can be transformed into something beautiful. Which is really where this came from, because as I noted in my last video, when my trauma happened, I looked for resources and there were none. There was nobody. Let me tell you something. When you start talking about sex offenders and crimes, sex crimes against children, that is even if you're the victim, that is a taboo conversation that people don't want to have. And I want to get away from that because, and I know I'm repeating myself here, but I think it's worth repeating. When those things happen, there are families and children and other people besides the perpetrator that are affected, that need resources and help to navigate what they've been through, because their entire lives have been turned upside down too. When our situation happened, we had people in the church and outside of it that treated me and my children like we had done something wrong. It was like, ew, it's those people. You got to remember, my kids went to the same school that their dad taught at when he got arrested. So they got to go back into this school, and it's like, ew. And let me say this, the school that they went to was predominantly white. At the time, I could count how many black children were even on that campus. So not only was it, ill because of that, it was, now you got this double whammy against you. So I'm here because I want to make sure that people know how to deal with life when it happens, because it will. It's one of the things that I try to teach my children now is to, and unfortunately, as a black woman living in this world, it's kind of a necessity to have this strong black woman, because the world already beats us up. Um, and then, outside of the world, and then you have your own things that happen in your individual life. And you just have to know how to cope if you're going to be able to emotionally and mentally be healthy enough to take care of yourself and make sure that you get through life. And that let me tell you something. You could not have told me um, 10 years ago that I would be here smiling like I do now, back in love, in a healthy relationship. You couldn't have told me that. Because I was just so emotionally and mentally beat down that I was just like, I just got done telling y'all, I was just like, take me out, like, take me out. But I am living proof that that trauma can be transformed and you can live a healthy and happy and fulfilled life on the other side if you just do the work that it takes to get there. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself because people will people. That's one of my brother's sayings. Humans will human. People will people. They will take advantage of you. They will hurt you purposefully. One of the things that I had to learn is that everybody was not raised the way that I was raised. Everybody does not raise their children the way that I raised my children. There are mean people in this world, and sometimes they're disguised as family and friends. So you have to be able to deal with these things that life is just gonna throw at you because they're gonna come. You're gonna get to a certain point in life, and they're just gonna come. Yeah. So another question that I get quite often is if I ever had a point where I was worried for my children's safety because of the nature of the charges that my ex-husband was arrested for. And the answer to that question is no. Simply that question really kind of gets under my skin sometimes. I understand why people would think it. Um, and it's really a case by case basis. But a lot of factors went into that decision. Some of those factors, just knowing the nature of my kids' relationship with their dad. Another one of those factors was legal advice. Another one of those factors was, professional advice, therapists, therapists that specialized in what he was arrested for. There's just all kind of moving pieces that brought the decision to continue to co-parent and make sure my kids still had a relationship, a healthy relationship with their dad. When this happened, they were 1 and 4. They are now 13 and 16. They're happy, healthy kids. I do co-parent with my ex-husband. He's a much better dad than he was husband, and I let that relationship happen organically. And quite frankly, he still has the S on his chest in our girls' eyes. Yeah. We've never sugarcoated anything for them. We're not sugarcoating parents. They know what happened. They know the nature of his charges. I had, when this happened, I had always told him, when they got to a point where they had questions, that was not going to be my responsibility to talk to them about that and to answer those questions. I've always put that on him. And that's just how we deal with it. There are, obviously things that he can't do with his daughters that fathers should be able to do with their daughters because he put them in a position to, and himself in a position. And that just is what it is. And we navigate that. But for the most part, it's a co-parenting relationship, and he does have a relationship with our kids, and that just is what it is. So let me go ahead and answer that question. And I really hone in on that because quite honestly, I'm tired of that question. So yeah, what other questions do I get a lot of? Have we ever, relationship after. So I am currently in a relationship that I got into actually not long after um, my relationship with my ex-husband. And when I got into that relationship, I had to be very honest with my partner, and with myself about where I was emotionally and mentally, and whether I was able to get into a relationship. And there were some really hard conversations that had to be had. Let me tell y'all something. I flat out told my boyfriend then, I was like, listen, I am a wreck. First of all, I'm paranoid. So I'm going to be looking at red flags that I didn't look for before. I'm going to pay attention to stuff that I didn't. You're basically going to pay for, And he was up for the challenge. And I told him that, whoever ended up with me, it was not going to be easy because, y'all, I was broken. And I tried to be as upfront about that as I could. And it's been a journey. It's been a lot of hard work. It has not been easy. But y'all, that man loved me right on through it. And here we are all these years later. And I couldn't ask for a better partner. One thing I learned is that I think I'm attracted to him because he reminds me a lot of my father. The way he loves me reminds me a lot of the way my dad loved my mom. And I didn't know that I needed that until I didn't have it, or until I didn't get it in my last relationship. Let me say this too. I don't know if I said this in my last video. Actually, I think I did say this in my last video. And I'm gonna hone in on this part of the conversation here. So y'all just ride along with me for a minute. My marriage was an interracial relationship, an interracial marriage. My girls are mixed. And let me tell you why I say that. Because, and people who are not in it, or were not in it, or don't understand it, won't understand it, regardless of what I say. But if I had to do it over again, I would not be in another interracial relationship. Hear me out. I would never tell someone else to not be in an interracial relationship, because I think that there are healthy ones out there, and that every situation is not like mine, or will not end up like mine. But it's kind of one of those situations where once you've been there, it's like a bad piece of fruit or a bad piece of food. You ever eat something that you really, really like, and then you get a bad one, or somebody cooked it wrong, or you pick up your mango or your apple and it's mushy and you accidentally bite it or something. Anyway, for whatever reason, you get a bad taste, and now you won't touch it again because it's put a bad taste in your mouth. That's kind of what this did for me. It put a bad taste in my mouth, and I just won't go back. And let me tell you why. As in love as I was with my then husband, what I did not take into consideration, because I was young, dumb, and in love, was the things that I took for granted that I didn't realize until after that relationship was over. For instance, I would always have to explain to him or his parents, and that's the other thing I'm going to say. You have to pay attention to not only the person, you have to pay attention to their family. There were always questions about, let me just say this, let me back up. In the relationship that I'm in now, I don't have to explain why I listen to the kind of music I listen to. I don't have to explain why I feel the way that I feel politically. I don't have to explain why I do things the way that I do culturally. I don't have to explain, why I do certain things to my hair. I don't have to, I just don't, because it happens organically. And again, that was not something I knew or paid attention to until I was out of it. And now it's like a breath of fresh air. Don't get it twisted. Don't get me wrong. I love my ex-in-laws and they love me and they would do anything for me. But at the end of the day, that's just me. I would not do it again. I am enjoying my chocolate man. And I am enjoying, matter of fact, y'all see what my shirt say? We got matching shirts. Black love. Like, whatever works for, I always say that, everyone comes in your life for a reason and a season. And my ex was in my life and he served his purpose. We have two beautiful girls, well-behaved children who should be somewhere dangling off of a roof right now because of the things that they've been through that no child should have to go through. And they're thriving, smart, funny, good kids. They're not perfect. They're teenagers. They do what teenagers do. But in retrospect, after all they've been through, I am immensely blessed. And we just had Mother's Day. And I said that in my Mother's Day, I realized that I am blessed because those girls have just defied the odds and broke down whatever barriers were put in front of them for them to be. And they're just not. So I thank God for them. I really do. But yeah, so that's my little tidbit on interracial relationships. And now I am not in an interracial relationship and I love it here. So yeah, y'all, this twist out is really twisting today. And let me tell you something. I didn't even when I twisted it, I washed it. What I washed it with was Tabitha Brown's. Y'all know Tabitha Brown? Y'all, if you're a naturalista, let me tell you something. I'm going off on a side road here on a tangent. And I ain't getting no money, no nothing from this. And actually, I'm not even supposed to be telling y'all this because this is my daughter's product that she bought with her own money and she left in the shower. And I just kind of took advantage of the fact that she left it in the shower. But Tabitha Brown, that sweet potato, shampoo and conditioner, baby. But that's all I did was washed it and blow dried it and twisted it and took my twists out and used some, I think it was Mielle Organics oil, put just oil on finger to take my twist out. And baby, it's just doing what it do. But anyway, so yeah, those are some of the questions that I've got. If I have missed any question that you have that I have not thought about, please drop it in the comments and I promise you I will answer it in the next video. Okay. If I didn't say it at the beginning of this video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. We want to help some people out. We want to break down the taboo barriers of talking about trauma and talking about narcissist behavior and talking about sexually deviant behavior and how that affects relationships and talking about raising kids and talking about, we just going to talk about all things trauma. But in order to do that, I need you to make sure that you subscribe so that you can get notified whenever I post a video here. Okay, so until next time, please, I love y'all on purpose and I will see y'all next time. Bye.